Hello and welcome to this month's Project Management Whiteboard. Today we're going to talk about how to achieve successful projects, and I want to start off talking about the Chaos Report. Now, some of you may already know about the Chaos Report. It's a report published by the American consulting organization called the Standish Group. In this report, they've surveyed thousands of IT projects over several years. The latest report suggests that 32% of projects were successful, 44% of projects were challenged, and 24% of projects failed. Now, the controversy in this report revolves around the definition which the Standish Group uses to define success or failure. How they define success means that the project was delivered on time, within budget, and according to expectation. If the project fails on one of these three aspects, it's challenged, and if it fails on all three, then it's failed. Now, you might consider, for example, Google, setting up a project to deliver and release the next version of Android. If using the Standish Group's definition of success and failure, if this project were to deliver 1 month late, it would have been challenged. However, what if the Olympic project, we had the Olympic Games in London last year, if the main Olympic Stadium project was 1 month late and therefore was unable to host the opening ceremony, then I think clearly we'd probably all agree that would be a failed project. However, Google releasing their latest Android release 1 month late, in my mind doesn't make that either a challenged or a failed project. For the simple fact that Google can still gain the benefits that this project is expected to deliver after the project has been closed down. Now then, perhaps the most interesting part of this survey was that they went and interviewed different stakeholders in the project to ask them what are the critical factors which, in their opinion, makes projects successful. And I've summarized here behind me the 5 most commonly given success factors. Number 1, in other words, most people, more people suggested this was a critical success factor than any of the others, was executive support. This means that every project needs to have that senior level manager who's sponsoring your project, who we would expect to take the big decisions about the project. For example, you might have an end stage assessment where the executive would decide to either continue or stop the project. In other words, executives take the big decisions about the project manager whilst they delegate day-to-day decision making to a project manager. Now, sometimes the project sponsor, the executive, goes AWOL, absent without leave. Only last year I did a project management course on behalf of a UK government, central government department, and the project managers complained to me that their executive on their project sponsor, goes off to his Tuscan villa when Parliament closes down for 4 months. This executive doesn't give any of the project managers a phone number or an email address. In other words, they're out of contact. This, the project managers assured me, led to paralysis, the inability to take decisions. So if you have an AWOL executive or sponsor, then your project right from the very beginning is in serious trouble. If I were that project manager, I'd explain the risk to the executive or the sponsor, and by flagging it as a risk, try to explain to them the importance of them taking the decisions. Secondly, the second most common reason given was user involvement. In other words, we need to have the right users involved early on and often. Now, who is it who's going to be specifying the requirements, of course, for projects? Of course, it is the users. So if you don't get the users involved in specifying the requirements early on, then the fact of the matter is you're going to deliver a solution which doesn't meet the user's needs. Third success factor seen as critical to the success of a project, having clear business objectives. The project objectives should ideally align with any corporate strategies. If it doesn't, then there's a serious question to ask about why this project is actually being run. All projects we would expect are going to deliver value for money for the business, which is investing in the project. So we need to have a business case which analyses the costs and the benefits, and we need to be clear about what are the return on investments that we're expecting from the project. Emotional maturity was the fourth critical success factor described in the survey. So, for example, how on your project, if you're the project manager, are you going to deal with demanding people? There's always difficult people on projects. You might have the bully, you might have the drama queen or the drama king, you might have the recluse. What we're talking about here often is the office politics. Now, how you deal with these difficult people and how you get people, the doubters maybe on board and supportive of the project, will require you as a project manager to have the very good people management skills and communication skills. The fifth most important critical success factor that was listed in the survey was about optimizing scope. I'm going to say one word: prioritize. Prioritize, prioritize, prioritize the requirements, because of course you're never going to have the time or the money to implement all of those requirements which the users have specified. Therefore, it's important that you prioritize which features or which functions, which deliverables are going to deliver you and the business the most business value, and focus your efforts on delivering those before you focus on delivering the less essential requirements to your project. So we've only looked at 5 critical success factors. There are a lot more, but what I would suggest is on your projects, look at these 5 critical success factors, and you can see from a lot of them, it's all about managing people. Yeah. So if you haven't already got good communication skills, I'd suggest maybe you go on a course to improve these kind of skills. If your executive's going AWOL, flag that as a risk. Get the users involved early. Make sure you've identified what you're trying to achieve from the project. Set those objectives and aim towards them. Deal with all the difficult people in the best way you can and prioritize the requirements. If you do these things, then you're going to give yourself a better chance of being successful. Thank you. See you next time. Bye-bye.